Here's your news for September 2nd, 2020. And your headlines for today include major upsetting news about Braun Strowman's future in WWE. Former WWE superstar becomes new Impact Wrestling champion. The extent of Rey Mysterio's injury and his expected return date revealed. When Brock Lesnar's WWE contract actually expired. WWE Retribution now exclusive to Raw brand. Female member could join the Hurt Business soon. Keith Lee faces major accusations. He responds. Randy Orton posts a cryptic message on Twitter. Renee Young explains when and why she decided to leave WWE in new interview, and more. We're kicking off today with news from SmackDown, as Braun Strowman only recently lost the Universal Championship, and that may be a sign of things to come for the monster among men. It's worth noting that Strowman only became champion because he was Roman Reigns' replacement at WrestleMania 36 against Goldberg, and after primarily feuding with Bray Wyatt as champion, Reigns is back and has turned heel, which will seemingly mark a change for Strowman. On Dropkick Discussions, Tom Colohue and Corey Guns discussed Braun's status post-Payback 2020, saying, "Next for Braun Strowman is down the card. He had a pretty good first title reign. It lasted 4 months. He only really feuded with Bray Wyatt. Yes, he had a match with The Miz and John Morrison, but he never really did much beyond that. For a first title reign, that's not bad. And there will be more in the future. He's shown that he can lead the company. Going forward, he will be in the upper mid-card now, helping to put people over. We could see a feud with Big E coming in the near future." Colohue also pointed out how Reigns' absence benefited certain stars, adding, "In Roman's absence, a lot of people were elevated. You see the rise of Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins in Roman's absence. You look at SmackDown now, Braun Strowman has taken that mantle, but he's been kicked down the road. The Fiend, he's not going to be the face, but when it comes to the depth charts we've heard about, the #1 face of SmackDown is going to be The Fiend. And then in order, The Fiend, Jeff Hardy, and Big E has just overtaken Matt Riddle, who is now 4th. Though Strowman is sliding down the card, it's hard to imagine the former Universal Champion will be forgotten about entirely. And though he won't be as prominent, WWE must utilize him, especially after his character change caused by his feud with Wyatt. No longer a clear-cut babyface, WWE would be foolish not to utilize his character arc to go in a different direction, and it wouldn't be too surprising to see the monster among men drafted to Raw in the upcoming shakeup, rumored to be happening next month. But what do you think? Should Strowman move to Raw, or should WWE keep pushing him on SmackDown? Leave your views in the comments below. Over to Impact next, as Eric Young has captured the Impact World Championship. After returning alongside several WWE stars at Slammiversary, Young defeated Eddie Edwards on this week's show with a piledriver after hitting Edwards with a hockey mask while the ref was distracted. Post-match, EY attacked Edwards until refs and security kept him from destroying the former champ's knee, and with Young now a 3-time Impact World Champion, we'll have to see where Impact goes from here with EY on top. Back to WWE now, as Rey Mysterio couldn't compete on Raw after suffering a very real injury, and though Dominic replaced him against Seth Rollins, Rey won't be out for as long as he could have been. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained that Rey's tricep tear isn't a full tear, which means he won't require surgery, and explained his recovery time, saying, "If he had a full tear, then he would need surgery and he'd be out 8 months. I hear 2 months or less, so you know it's a real injury and not a good time, but it's a whole lot better than 6 to 8 months out, especially right now when he's a real focal part of the show and he's in a real key angle." It's entirely possible that Rey could remain on TV while he recovers, and given how much Rey's son Dominic has proved himself as a valuable asset on TV, keeping both Rey and Dominic on screen could be the best decision for everyone involved. One person who won't be on WWE TV is Brock Lesnar, as the Beast is no longer under contract. Fans got an impression that something was wrong when Lesnar's merchandise was removed from WWEshop.com, and though Lesnar isn't talking to AEW or UFC at this time, he's had plenty of time to do just that. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained Lesnar's WWE contract ended after his WWE Championship loss to Drew McIntyre, saying, "Brock's contract actually expired months ago in April, but nobody knew it because it wasn't really an issue. This isn't the first time. He does that all the time. The contract will expire at WrestleMania, and most years, people don't know about it. As one of WWE's highest-paid stars since his 2012 return, Lesnar knows about getting the best price for himself, and though he typically comes to some agreement, he wasn't needed for SummerSlam. With Lesnar gone for now, fans are wondering when he'll return, and it's no secret that Brock uses UFC and WWE against each other to get the best deal, usually ending with Vince McMahon shelling out more. With UFC President Dana White stating that he would happily book a Lesnar vs. Jon Jones fight though, it's more likely that Brock will use UFC as leverage if both men are interested in the fight. Either way, we expect Lesnar to be back in a wrestling ring in early 2021, as this seems like a realistic period for WWE to allow fans in once again. And with WrestleMania 37 on the horizon, Lesnar wouldn't want to miss out on such a big payday. We've got news from Retribution now, as after another meaningless attack on this week's Raw, interrupting a tag team match, they'll now have Friday off. John Pollock of Post Wrestling reports that the stable is now exclusive to Raw, which explains why they were absent from SmackDown this week. It's also been reported that the group didn't show up at Payback because the WWE simply didn't have a story for them or a plan for any of the matches to be broken up by the stable. We are still uncertain on who will be revealed under those Retribution masks, though names like Dominik Dijakovic and Mia Yim are rumored, and whilst plans could always change, SmackDown superstars can breathe a sigh of relief for now. From one stable to another, as the Hurt Business have put WWE on notice, and after dominating on Raw Underground, are looking to increase their prominence. During Raw Talk, the stable were open to recruiting new members, as well as new titles, after Bobby Lashley captured the United States title at Payback. The Destroyer said, "Since we're talking about all titles, we have to fit all classes. 205 Live, Women's title, Tag titles, Universal titles, Cross-Promotion, Intercontinental titles, Tag titles over there. You know, there's a lot of people to go after in WWE." After MVP added that no one is safe, and Shelton Benjamin confirmed they were looking for new members, it'll be interesting to see what happens next for the stable and who will be the newest members of the Hurt Business. Over to the WWE Network now, as the streaming service has a lot of new content coming in September, including not one, but two Broken Skull sessions. A brand new episode which will see Stone Cold Steve Austin sit down with Jerry the King Lawler will release this weekend, no doubt full of good stories. And it's also been confirmed that there will also be another new episode this month with Kurt Angle. It'll be interesting to see what Kurt and the King have to say, and with much more content coming, September is looking to be a huge month for the network. Over to Raw now, as Keith Lee has had quite the start on the Red brand, including a win over Randy Orton at Payback, and nearly earned a WWE title match on this week's show. After defeating Dolph Ziggler in Raw's opener, Lee was asked online if he was still using the popular Tour of the Islands move, the finisher for New Japan and ROH star Jeff Cobb, and the Limitless One defended himself, saying Cobb's slam goes in a different direction and has a full stop to it. Adding that he'd never steal his boy Cobb's move, Lee revealed his move is the Jeff Brown Slam, named after a Texas wrestler that the Limitless One has always been fond of and started using it once Brown retired. This response caught the attention of Cobb himself, who described Lee as one of his favorites, despite Lee's physicality against him during their matches. After his impressive start on Raw, Lee is reportedly a favorite of Vince McMahon, and though he didn't become the #1 contender for the WWE title on Raw, we doubt this will be the end of Lee's championship pursuits on the main roster. AEW news next, and after weeks away following controversy, Excalibur is set to make a return. The commentator has been absent since July 29th after footage of him using the N-word at a PWG show was shared online, though AEW has been very silent about his status during his absence. Despite a report saying he'd return for the August 27th show, that didn't happen, and now F4W Online is reporting that Excalibur will return to Dynamite on this week's show. In his absence, Taz and Chris Jericho have filled in on commentary, and with Excalibur returning on the Go Home episode before All Out, time will tell what kind of response he gets. Back to WWE now, and after victories over Kevin Owens and later Keith Lee and Seth Rollins in the main event, Randy Orton earned himself another shot at WWE Champion Drew McIntyre, but that wasn't the only Orton news this week. On Twitter, Orton posted a video of a snake preparing to attack with the caption, "It's finally happening," and asked fans to guess what. Some fans questioned if Orton is getting a new theme, whilst others questioned if he's coming to Twitch. Whatever it is Orton has planned, it's clear that he's been arguably WWE's best heel in 2020, and whilst he may have lost at SummerSlam to McIntyre and at Payback to Lee, the Viper is set on becoming WWE Champion once more at Clash of Champions. Over to NXT now, and after AJ Styles said he'd move to the Gold brand to team with Finn Balor, the inaugural Universal Champion is ready for a phenomenal partner. Speaking to CBS Sports, Balor explained why he wants to team with Styles so much, saying, "When I went to Japan, he was in TNA. When I came to the US, he went to Japan. When I came to Raw, he went to SmackDown. We've got very similar paths and a lot of mutual friends. He's someone I would love to not only tag with, but be in the ring in some capacity, whether it's standing across the ring from him one-on-one, or if it's standing side by side." We are sure there are plenty of fans who would love to see Styles and Balor in NXT as either partners or opponents, and hopefully this guaranteed money dream match and pairing will soon come true. Now, it's no secret that Dwayne Johnson has been a success in many industries, including sports entertainment and movies, and now he can add the dictionary to that list. In a tweet from Dictionary.com, it was confirmed that jabroni, one of The Rock's catchphrases, has been added to the dictionary. And whilst the Iron Sheik used it before him, it's safe to say the People's Champion popularized the term in pop culture. This isn't the first time one of The Rock's terms has made it into the dictionary, as Webster's Dictionary added SmackDown in 2007. And we can only wonder when candy ass and boot to asses will be added to dictionaries around the world. And we're ending today with news from Renee Paquette, as the former WWE announcer has commented on her departure. Speaking to Sports Illustrated Media podcast, Young explained that there was no definitive point where she decided to leave, but said that WWE Backstage being cancelled, followed by her finding out she'd tested positive the same day, was a lot for her to handle. She said, "I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not really doing anything anymore, and my skill set of being a host, there's just nowhere for me to do it anymore." Even when Talking Smack came back, she added that she wasn't entirely sold on returning to the show, adding, "I was planning on perhaps maybe doing that, but I was like, you know what, I'm just feeling like I'm taking steps backwards. I'm sort of spinning my wheels." Renee added that she doesn't know if AEW are interested in her, but added that if anyone thinks she has a standard 90-day non-compete clause with WWE, they'll be waiting much longer than that. It's clear that Renee won't be appearing at AEW All Out this week in any official capacity, though she will be in Jacksonville to support her husband Jon Moxley. But fans will have to wait for quite some time to see Renee join the reigning AEW World Champion on TV.